If you play video games, you probably have heard of the Grand Theft Auto series for its financial and critical success, its effect on media and gaming as a whole. And with the success of the Grand Theft Auto franchise, people tend to wonder what's going on with the latest installment of the series with Grand Theft Auto 5. After the ginormous success of Red Dead Redemption, Rockstar was tirelessly working on the next Grand Theft Auto game, knowing that this could be the best Grand Theft Auto game in the franchise thus far. And in November of 2011, we got our first trailer of Grand Theft Auto 5. And 2 years later, in fall of 2013, we got one of, if not the most influential game in the current age of gaming with Grand Theft Auto 5. Rockstar North began to develop Grand Theft Auto 5 in 2008, following Grand Theft Auto 4's release. Development was conducted by a team of more than 1,000 people, including Rockstar North's core team and staff. The Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, also known as the Rage Engine, was overhauled for the game to improve its draw distance rendering capabilities. And with becoming familiar with the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 hardware over time, Rockstar found that they would be able to push the console's graphical capabilities further than in previous games. Estimations place the game's combined development and marketing budget around $265 million, which would make this the most expensive game ever made. A fundamental design goal from the developers was to innovate on the series' core structure by giving players control of 3 lead protagonists instead of 1. Sought to improve the action gameplay by redefining the shooting mechanics and covering system, and reworked the drive mechanics to correct Grand Theft Auto 4's awkward vehicle controls. And finally, after all of that, Grand Theft Auto 5 was first announced by Rockstar Games by October 2011, and a trailer was shown in November of 2011, with the game releasing in September of 2013. And calling Grand Theft Auto 5 a success is a huge understatement, with the game breaking industry sales records and becoming the fastest selling entertainment product in history, earning $800 million in its first day and $1 billion in its first 3 days. It is also no surprise that opening week sales were the biggest in gaming history, topping the annual best-selling franchise Call of Duty in its first 5 days, with Grand Theft Auto 5 selling 16 million units in that time frame. And Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold over 150 million copies at this time of this recording, pushing the series total to 350 million overall. Technology has increased since Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto 4, so it's not a surprise that Grand Theft Auto 5 looks beautiful in every word of the manner. Los Santos looks like a real city, the rendered character designs are great and creative, and me and many others thought that Grand Theft Auto was graphically at its peak with Grand Theft Auto 4, but Rockstar has proved us wrong again, with Grand Theft Auto 5's amazing graphical fidelity, palm trees moving with the wind making them have character, and most buildings having some sort of expression, and cars are shiny and sleek, so I could honestly say that Grand Theft Auto 5 looks like real life for the most part. Grand Theft Auto 5's world was also ahead of its time, and beats some open world games today, which is a great feat since Grand Theft Auto 5 came out all the way back in 2013. The open world in Grand Theft Auto 5 is also one of the best I've ever seen, and I think Grand Theft Auto 5's world delivers because it has everything we expect and more from an open world. It has the visuals, which makes the world look amazing with lights and reflections on buildings and palm trees. And it has collectibles inside missions for you to have a reason to explore the world. And the world feels realistic as well, with the game letting you go in a lot of buildings, really immersing you into the world that Rockstar has made. And the actual playable part of the map is great, with the city of Los Santos, which is based on the real-life city of Los Angeles. Los Santos looks amazing and lovely. Liberty City looked amazing in Grand Theft Auto 4, but it felt deserted and lonely with dark color palettes everywhere you turn. But in San Andreas, and especially Los Santos, on the other hand, is the complete opposite of Liberty City, with a lot of color and people and cars everywhere you turn. Los Santos doesn't feel like a city, but a world, or a reality of sorts, which makes mundane things fun and relaxing, and having in-depth inhabitants in its world that Rockstar has made. The people in the city of Los Santos all have their own lives, and seeing this really makes you feel that the NPCs in the world are actual people. The world also has animals, which is pretty new to the Grand Theft Auto franchise, and I gotta say they pulled it off pretty well here, with the animals having natural animations and behaviors. The detail for the city is also great, with different houses everywhere you turn, civilians and cars everywhere, and beautiful weather to top it all off. Rockstar really made Los Santos feel like a Western American city, which is a great accomplishment. Grand Theft Auto 5's map is the largest GTA map, beating GTA San Andreas and GTA 4's map, making this the best map Rockstar has made in my opinion. From the sheer level of detail to the humanic NPCs to the large size of Los Santos makes this the best map Rockstar has made and is a dream to be in. You can also take pictures using your phone, and you can make very nice photos since the game looks so good. And speaking of phones, their phone features have been exponentially improved from Grand Theft Auto 4, with the phone letting you change the wallpaper, checking out emails, and even letting you browse through the internet so you can buy stocks, cars, and planes. The user interface in this game is basically the same from GTA 4, with money, health, armor, weaponry all being on the screen, but the main difference I saw personally in my playthrough is that you can see all the enemies on your map, while in GTA 4 you can only see the general surroundings of your enemies. The voice acting is non-surprisingly amazing in this game, with Ned Luke as Michael, Sean Fantana as Franklin, and Steven Ogg as Trevor stealing the show. And the funny thing is, we almost didn't have Ned Luke as Michael, because initially he didn't want to do the role for Michael, but saw the script and was amazed at how good it was, so he took the job. Sean Fantana lived a similar life to Franklin, so he just felt that he was just doing a younger version of himself, but he said that he had trouble remembering his lines since this was his first role of voice acting. And Steven Ogg especially steals the show as Trevor, and every line of dialogue he does is amazing. These three voice actors have great chemistry, so the dialogue they do feels natural and fluid. The sound effects in this game are great as well, with opening cars, shooting guns, and punching people all sounding realistic and unique. The soundtrack for Grand Theft Auto 5 is also pretty good, with great original and licensed music, with Grand Theft Auto 5 having more than 441 tracks of licensed music, as well as 2 talk radio stations that span into 16 different stations, and the highlights for the original songs are mainly the Welcome to Los Santos theme. So overall, the presentation is great, from the world of Los Santos to the music. I think Rockstar really has perfected presentation with Grand Theft Auto 5. The 2 big new gameplay features in Grand Theft Auto 5 are the 3 protagonists and the first person mode. This is the first Grand Theft Auto game with 3 protagonists with their own unique clothes, attitudes, and abilities. Starting off with the clothing options, there are nearly 500 clothing options for Michael alone, which is pretty bonkers to me. Having almost 500 character customization clothes just for one character is amazing, and shows Rockstar's dedication to making an immersive character and world. The 3 protagonists have their own unique clothes, tattoos, cars, haircuts, which all return from GTA San Andreas. The protagonists also have their own abilities. Michael has the ability to slow down time, making it easy to get headshots. Franklin has the ability to slow down time when driving, since he is a good driver, which makes sense why Lamar always makes him drive. And Trevor has the ability to do twice as much damage and receive less damage to himself. All these abilities run on a meter, which depletes as you use their abilities, but can be recharged by doing various activities. Michael, Franklin, and Trevor also all have their own unique safe houses where you can sleep, watch TV, and change your outfit. The protagonists themselves are all great, and you can switch to them whenever you want and see their daily life, which adds real ability and realism. I think the 3 protagonists were a spectacular feature Rockstar added and changes gameplay for the better in my opinion. The other big new gameplay feature here is the first person view, which honestly doesn't change too much of anything. If anything, it makes your experience worse since you can't look all around you as you could in third person. It is cool playing Grand Theft Auto in first person, but it really doesn't change too much. The combat here is basically the same from Grand Theft Auto 4, but I saw that there were less unique animations for combat, while in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and 4 had more varied animations for combat, which I felt was pretty disappointing. The newest change for shooting in GTA 5 is the weapon wheel. For example, in other GTA entries you could switch weapons but at a very slow pace, and it was just more efficient to just sticking to one gun. But in GTA 5 you have the weapon wheel, and this makes for incredible combinations when shooting. You could shoot opponents with an assault rifle, then change to an SMG to spray your opponents, and finish it off with a grenade, all in only a couple seconds, which is amazing. The shooting itself is pretty good, which I'm glad to say, because in my other Grand Theft Auto critiques, one of my complaints were that the shooting wasn't the best and needed some improvements. But here I can finally say that Grand Theft Auto has good shooting mechanics. The camera's over the character's shoulder when shooting as well, making it more efficient in shootouts. Speaking of shootouts, the shootout set pieces here are great, with warehouses, police stations, and deserts to name a few. The cover system is now more fluid, which is good, especially in quick cover situations. The gun selection here is great and vast, with Grand Theft Auto 5 featuring 61 separate weapons, which is much more than Grand Theft Auto 4's 16 separate weapons. And there are upgrades you can put on your guns in Grand Theft Auto 5, like silencers, color wraps, scopes, and flashlights. Also, if your health is under 50% and you haven't gotten hit in a while, you'll naturally regenerate, which is really helpful in shootouts. Properties return and bring action-packed missions for you to do, and the more missions you do for that specific property, that property will give you more money, which I think is pretty cool. But let's talk about the missions. A big change I saw was that the missions, or the cutscenes in general, felt more funny. Some of the dialogue here feels like a comedy, and some missions are straight up crazy. Like one of the missions see you killing aliens with a minigun because you're high. It can't get much more Grand Theft Auto than that. The missions are also fun and interesting. You'll go from doing yoga and playing tennis to doing a mass murder like that. And this contrasts to the dark tone in GTA 4. You can also now focus on specific targets and missions, which can be a great help if you don't know where you're going. The main star of the missions are the heists, which are great in my opinion. I love how you get to set up the heist and get crew members and see the place you're robbing before the heist even begins. And you choose if you want to go in smart or loud, and just adds so much variety to the gameplay. It's amazing. You can also now replay missions, which is so good. So you can go back and do the missions you like, and you can get all the achievements for the missions. The main thing that plagues the missions in my opinion is the fact that you can now skip missions, which can be useful in some situations, but it is too easy when you can just skip the mission whenever it gets too hard for you. Another thing I don't like about the missions is how in some missions you see yourself driving around all of Los Santos, and it's long and boring. But you do have really interesting dialogue as well while driving, so it's a double-edged sword. But besides that, the missions are pretty good overall. There are a bunch of side activities you can do in the game, like racing, going to the bar, tennis, fight school, and my personal favorite, which is Michael's therapy sessions, which give an insight on Michael's thoughts, which is pretty cool. There are a bunch of vehicles in GTA 5, with GTA 5 featuring 348 separate controllable vehicles, and 46 of these were added as part of the DLC. This is amazing, and it's a big improvement to the 123 vehicles that are in Grand Theft Auto 4. The coolest vehicles in my opinion in this game are the Ferraris, bicycles that return from GTA San Andreas, and the golden plane and helicopter. Driving is an integral part in the Grand Theft Auto series, so I'm sad to say that the driving here feels weird, because you feel like you have less control over the car or bike. In other GTA entries like GTA San Andreas and GTA Vice City, it felt like you had full control over your vehicle most of the time, but here it feels like a lot harder to control a car or even a bike, which might have been Rockstar's intention, because it is pretty hard to control a car or a bike in real life. The jet ski and boat controls are pretty good for the most part and are an improvement from other GTA entries, which is good. The plane makes a return from GTA San Andreas, but the controls are as bad, but if not even worse than GTA San Andreas, which is a disappointment since GTA 5 came out 9 years after San Andreas, and it just seems that planes and Grand Theft Auto can't go together well. The helicopter controls are okay, but I thought that Grand Theft Auto Vice City had perfected the helicopter controls, so I don't know why they really changed them here. Skydiving also returns from GTA San Andreas and the Ballad of Gay Tony, which is pretty cool, and you can do pretty cool landings with the parachutes. The stat system returns from GTA San Andreas, which lets Michael, Trevor, and Franklin upgrade their stats as they do specific tasks, like driving for a while will increase your stat for driving, and this applies for all of the other stats in the game, like flying, stamina, shooting, and swimming, to name a few. You can now customize your car, which is a great re-addition. I say re-addition since you could customize your car in GTA San Andreas, but the feature was absent in Grand Theft Auto 4 surprisingly, so I'm glad to say that it makes a return here. The garages also make a return since you had parking spots in GTA 4. This is a small change, but I thought I'd like to point it out either way. The police here are as unforgiving as ever. You could kill one person on accident and get 1 and sometimes even 2 stars depending on who you kill. Yes, this makes it more realistic, but I miss the old days where in GTA Vice City or San Andreas, you could kill like 20 people and still get away with it without even getting a star. You could also now dive underwater again, which was strangely missing in Grand Theft Auto 4. The parkour in this game is okay. At times it can be good and fun and seamless, but a lot of times you can't even make a jump for some reason, and you'll get ragged off physics from GTA 4. You'll be doing parkour in some missions, so you just gotta hope that the parkour is on your side when doing them. Overall, I really like the gameplay in Grand Theft Auto 5, because it mostly has improved gameplay from other GTA titles. Grand Theft Auto 5 begins with a flashback set in 2004, a heist gone wrong. Michael, Trevor, and their allies rob a cash storage facility, and they almost get away, until Michael and one of his allies get shot, with Trevor barely escaping. 9 years later, Michael is living in Los Santos and befriends Franklin Clinton, after him attempting to repossess his son's car, and doing a couple favors. But after Michael finds his wife cheating on him, he retaliates by breaking off the balcony of the guy's house. But surprise, the house is actually owned by a Mexican gangster, Marty Morazzo, and Michael is now forced to pay for the damages. So Michael robs a jewelry store to pay back the money, and Trevor Phillips finds out Michael's alive and realizes Michael's the only one who can pull off a well-planned heist, so he travels to Los Santos to find him. Michael also gets in trouble with the FIB and is forced to do jobs for the FIB to beat their rival known as the IAA. So with 3 amazing protagonists, Michael, Trevor, and Franklin have to deal with their own problems while doing heists and pursuing the American dream. The 3 protagonists really make the story for me, especially Michael. Michael's my favorite protagonist in the game because I think all of us can relate to him in some kind of way. At the start of the game, Michael feels like he has no purpose or meaning. You just see him soaking in the sun, drinking all day or smoking, wishing he could rectify the past and bring back his youthful days. And you can see Michael's rush of excitement when he's doing a heist or running from the cops, and it's very relatable. And not to mention that Michael's straight up badass, and his animations and dialogue show that very well. Franklin is a good protagonist as well, and I like him because he really reminds me of CJ from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And I like his underdog attitude, and I like his friendship with Lamar. And I also like his father-son relationship with Michael as well. And there's Trevor, which is definitely the most interesting protagonist out of the 3, with him being kind of a psychopath, which shows in his introduction when he brutally stomps a guy to death, and he has a piece of their brain stuck to his boot after that. Trevor is also incredibly impulsive depending on how he's feeling in the moment, but even with all of that, there's a strange sense of humanity from Trevor, and almost makes his psychotic nature human in a way. You can tell that even with all of his issues, he still cares and loves people, even in a strange, disturbing way. He especially cares for Michael, which is showed multiple times in the story. And I think the main appeal for Trevor is the fact that we could all be as deranged and sadistic as Trevor with a couple of horrible experiences. But the multiple protagonists add a problem to the story missions, which is the fact that since you can switch to any protagonist at basically any time, you could do all the missions for that single protagonist and then switch to another protagonist and not get the story at all since you did all the missions for the other protagonist earlier, which makes pacing basically non-existent for Grand Theft Auto 5's campaign. Michael, Trevor, and Franklin all have different color phone screens, signaling their attitudes. Michael's phone color screen is blue, signaling his lack of trust, intelligence, and wisdom. Franklin's phone color is green, symbolizing his cool and calm but intervening behavior. And Trevor's phone color is red, symbolizing his madness. Trevor's phone is also broken, symbolizing how broken he is mentally. But I gotta say, the antagonists in this game aren't the best, which is a shame because other GTA titles like GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas had great villains. The main problem with the antagonists in this game is that the antagonists like the FIB and Stretch go in and out of the story, which makes development for them almost non-existent. But now, I should probably talk about the 3 endings you get in this game. The first ending is to kill Michael, and it's a sad ending. You hear Michael talking to Amanda about Tracy going to college, and this makes you more sad when you kill him. It's also sad because Michael took Franklin in kind of as a son or a successor of sorts, so it's sad when you kill the only man that was decent to you, your mentor. The second ending is to kill Trevor, and I personally think this is the saddest ending you get out of the 3. Trevor acts like a psycho all over the game, but you can still see a glimmer of emotion in him, a glimmer of humanity of sorts, especially towards the end of the game. Psychotic or not, Trevor's still human, a human with feelings, and Trevor loses a lot in this game. And by the end, Franklin and Michael is all he has left, and they betray him. And you can see that at this point, Trevor doesn't want to live anymore. He just sits there in the gasoline awaiting his fate. He doesn't fight back or beg for his life. He just sits there thinking he has nothing to lose and nothing to live for. This ending is very, very sad, and it's pretty messed up. Luckily, I didn't get this ending because I got the final and best ending in this game in my opinion. The third ending is the best ending in this game in my opinion because it's the only happy ending you kinda get in this game. In this ending, you kill Haynes, which is the main antagonist in the game that was working for the FIB. And with all of that taken care of, Michael, Franklin, and Trevor move on with their lives as friends. This is by far the best ending with 3 flawed but great characters that deeply care for one another. Rockstar really did something very few studios do, and that is to make a good and meaningful story with multiple protagonists. Honestly, Grand Theft Auto 5 story is overall great, with funny moments, action-packed thrillers, and emotional problems all jam-packed into one amazing story. It's just sad that there was no single-player DLC for this game like there was in Grand Theft Auto 4. Grand Theft Auto Online needs no introduction. I think almost everyone in the gaming community has played or at least heard of Grand Theft Auto Online for its wacky gameplay and sales numbers. Grand Theft Auto Online really doesn't have a story mode, but the base premise is that you can create your own character and do heists and jobs to get rich and have that beautiful American dream. There's so many things you can do in Grand Theft Auto Online, like racing, death matches, becoming a CEO, spinning a wheel at the Diamond Casino, betting, driving a flying car, and much more. What really plagues GTA Online in my opinion is how slow you make money. Rockstar has made it so that making money in the world of GTA Online is a grind. It can honestly feel like a job at times. Not to mention the horrible loading times make it a hassle to get money in GTA Online. The difficulty of making money in online was Rockstar's perfect opportunity to add shark cards, which will give you in-game money that you have to pay for with real money. This was revolutionary at the time. No other game developer studio, except for maybe EA, thought of making transactions as part of their game. And as of making this video, transactions are littered everywhere in video games, and Rockstar basically started this with shark cards. I honestly think that Grand Theft Auto Online does more harm than good to the Grand Theft Auto franchise, with Rockstar focusing on promoting shark cards more than making more meaningful single-player content and making new games, which is quite sad since Rockstar was known for making unique and meaningful but action-packed stories with games like Bully, Red Dead Redemption, and Grand Theft Auto obviously. But either way, Grand Theft Auto Online did something that hasn't and might never be done again. They have made an online mode that is timeless. There's a reason people are still playing GTA Online even 8 years later, but this certainly isn't GTA Online's legacy. Its legacy is somewhat unfortunate, with Rockstar's encouragement of microtransactions, grindy gameplay, and lackluster updates. Grand Theft Auto 5 was and still is one of the most revolutionary games that have come out in modern gaming, with its incredible map, gameplay, and its successful online component. I'm so excited for what's next for this incredible series, and I know it'll be a while until we get a new GTA title, but I know that it'll take something beyond special to even come close to what Rockstar have accomplished with Grand Theft Auto 5. If you like this video, be sure to leave a comment and subscribe for more. And be sure to share this video around with your friends if you like. If you didn't like the video, please give me some feedback. I'd truly appreciate it. I love you all. Stay safe. Have a great day. And until next time.